Kamaru Usman is back, kind of. Joaquin Buckley showed that he has zero takedown defense. Rose Namajunas had a good performance, and a lot of other things happened last night at UFC Atlanta. This is a Money Manziel MMA production. Welcome back. If you're new, I appreciate it, and hopefully you stay tuned. If you're old, then you know the deal. So let's get right back. Let's get right into this recap, rather. Jamie Lynn Horth versus Vanessa Demopoulos. There's not a lot to say about this fight. It was a pretty good back and forth fight, but Horth actually looked like she knew how to strike and put combos together. She was touching Vanessa Demopoulos up with kicks to the body. They were nasty liver kicks for the most part. And just outboxed her at range when it got to the clinch and Vanessa tried to pull guard. Jamie Lynn Horth was just too fast and too strong for her to really ever let Vanessa get a hold of her. So the odds ended up being pretty fair. I had Horth winning every single round, and Vanessa's tough, and she can do the splits and shit like that, but I think it's time we let her go from the promotion. So, good win for Jamie Lynn Horth. Not a lot to say about the opener. Next up, Phil Rowe and Angelusa. This one was kind of a crazy one. I switched my pick to Phil Rowe. I don't remember, but Angelusa was the favorite at closing odds for this fight, and it kind of was a Phil Rowe-esque fight. Not throw enough in the first two rounds and zero head movement. Angelusa touching him up on the feet, hurt him bad in the second round when Phil Rowe was winning. Um, Take him down in the first. I think he took him down the second too. Um, and then all of a sudden, the third round, Angelusa, like in every single fight, whether he wins or loses, gasses in the third round. And especially when Phil Rowe put a ton of pressure on him, Angelusa just kind of folded. It was a weird situation where the mouthpiece came out, but honestly, it was a great win for Phil Rowe. He teed off for the final 20, 30 seconds, just kind of manhandled Angelusa, had his hand against his head, and just kept punching him in the face. I don't even know Angelusa didn't go out cold from that because Rowe hits pretty hard. So it was a much needed win for Phil Rowe. Angelusa, you're next up on the chopping block, buddy. Get ready for a big welterweight prospect that's coming your way. So good win for Phil Rowe. Love to see him back soon because the guy keeps taking a year off between fights, but you never know with him. So good TKO in the third round win for Phil Rowe. Next up, Ricky Simone versus Cameron Smotherman. This was a pretty easy fight to call. Cameron Smotherman struggled with Sergey City's grappling, and then on short notice to go against a better grappler in Ricky Simone. It played out about exactly as I expected to. Smotherman had little moments, but for the most part, it was Ricky just kind of in his face the entire time with the pressure. Kind of that Ricky Simone-esque style. People forget, man, he has a win over Marab. Um, but it was a great win for Ricky Simone. He needed it, especially coming off the knockout win. It's good for him to get momentum back. He's only 32. So I'd expect to see Ricky Simone versus a guy right on the edge of the rankings. Would be my guess. Maybe you do him versus like the loser of Kyler Phillips and Vinicius Oliveira, something like that. I could see either one of those matchups being made. So it was a good win for Ricky Simone. I don't really know what you do with Cameron Smotherman because he's very one-dimensional as a boxer. He has decent power, but I feel like we never see it. And he beat Jake Hadley, but that's Jake Hadley. Like I'm not super impressed by that win anymore. So good win for Ricky Simone. Cameron Smotherman's kind of at a crossroads. Next up, Jose Ochoa and Cody Durden. I know a lot of people were talking about the narrative that these short notice guys who look good and lose end up being bad in their next fight, but if you watched the Ochoa fight versus Lonnie Kavanaugh, Jose Ochoa was legit and had an argument for winning that fight. Ochoa is way better than Cody Durden. It got a little scrappy in moments, like Durden landed a big right left hand kind of swinging wild combo near the end of the first round that sort of wobbled Ochoa for a second, but Ochoa came out guns blazing, immediately cracked him and put him out in the second. Huge win for Jose Ochoa. He's a legitimate prospect. I mean, 100% finish rate in his fights. And I think they need to cut Cody Durden from the UFC. And I'll tell you why. I think he doesn't care anymore, man. I think that with Cody Durden, I'm yawning. with Cody Durden, it's one of those things where he's just got a foot out the door. I see him doing these like live streams with like betting gurus and stuff. Like he's just a guy that's got other stuff going on. I don't think he's putting his all into the sport anymore. He's 34. I don't see a reason to keep running Cody Durden out there at the moment. Next up, basically the final big fight of the card. For the rest of the card, the final big fight. Malcolm Wellmaker versus Chris Moutinho. I think there's a little narrative that I've been seeing that's like, oh man, Wellmaker got hit a bunch of times in this fight. Man, you can tell that Wellmaker was doing everything to knock out Chris Moutinho. Like every single punch he threw with 150% intent to knock out Moutinho. It wasn't calculated like he usually is. He knew that if he landed the shot, he'd hit him. So he was kind of taking a few to land a few. And when he landed that check right hook counter, I mean, flatline Moutinho. I think we all knew this was going to happen. The odds makers knew it was going to happen. It was a great win for Malcolm Wellmaker. I will say, though, man, Paul Felder and Dominic Cruz the entire time are like, man, this kid's got a bright future. Let's not rush the kid here. This guy's super young in the game. He's 31 years old. It's not like the guy's 26 and he's got this record. He's not. He's now 10-0, but he's 31. So I think time is of the essence. I think 31, 32, especially at where are they at bantamweight, you got to make a run at 31. Like it's kind of now or never for Wellmaker. If he loses, he may have a chance to rebuild himself one time. But once you get into your 30s in the lower weight classes, you really need to build yourself up and make a run at the title because time passes by fast at these lower weight classes. So great win for Malcolm Wellmaker. Would love to see maybe do him in a who do you put him with next? Um, Maybe you do him and Ricky Simone. Maybe you do Wellmaker and Ricky Simone. That would be an interesting one. Um, could be a good fight too. Next up, oh my fucking god, this was boring. I'll be honest with you. Michael Chiesa versus Court McGee. Who wants to watch two 40-year-old men just spar in the middle of a cage? We have like 3 or 4 good fights in a row, finishes, nasty knockouts. Oh wow, this was a decision, but it was a scrap. And then we get Michael Chiesa versus Court McGee. Who the fuck wants to watch these two? Name one person on the planet that sits down on their couch. They grab the remote, they turn on the TV, and they say, "I am so excited for a Michael Chiesa fight tonight." No one has ever said that. He's not in exciting fights. He just beat Max Griffin and Tony Ferguson in his last two, and then gets Court McGee and does nothing to him. Court McGee's incredibly chinny. Obviously, Chiesa could not knock out an ant crawling on the ground with his foot. And Court McGee just kind of stood there menacingly the entire time. He shot like 3 or 4 takedowns, didn't get any of them, obviously. The fight sucked, man. I just don't get why this is even a fight. Like, why are these two fighting still? Michael Chiesa cannot possibly have title aspirations, and McGee is 40. What are we doing, dude? Like, I don't understand what the point of making this fight was. Good win for Chiesa, I guess. But you gotta sacrifice this dude at some point. Like, I don't really understand what we're doing with Michael Chiesa. Next up, probably the funniest moment of the entire card. Paul Craig is losing the first round. He has moments. He landed like a spinning back kick early in the round. Rodolfo Bellato's got top position on Paul Craig. He's trying his hardest not to get fluked by a triangle. And then he gets upkicked. Rodolfo Bellato looks to the referee, sees that he's stepping in to call it a foul, and then he goes unconscious. Then pretends to wake up from a nightmare and like crawls back to the edge of the cage. I saw a TikTok today that was like, when Paul Craig knocks people out, they go schizophrenic. Um, but that was so weird. Paul Craig cannot have a normal ending to a fight. I think he should retire on that. I think that would be the most Paul Craig way to retire. 3 losses in a row and then a no contest. And I think Bellato should be cut. I don't think you can get away with doing that. To come off against the disaster that was the Jimmy Crute fight, which by the way was on a pay-per-view, and then fake getting knocked out by Paul Craig, of all people, in a round you are winning. Fascinating stuff, real blockhead behavior. I don't ever want to see Bellato fight again, especially after the last 2 fights. Paul Craig's cool, but I don't think he really stands a chance against anybody in the division. So who knows with the two of these guys? Kind of a nothing burger, and it kind of added a weird buffer for the fights. But then we got right back to boring fights. Alonzo Menifield and Umar Sy. Guys, I'm gonna hold your hand metaphorically when I say this. French fighters are the worst. Being French is the worst base for MMA. It absolutely is the worst possible archetype for a fighter to be French. Name one French fighter who is actually good. Benoit Saint-Denis not a pussy. Benoit Saint-Denis fights. He's not good, technically. But out of all of them, he's the least technical, but he actually wants to win fights. He's a warrior. He tries. Umar Sy stared menacingly at Alonzo Menifield for the final 5 minutes of their fight. In the first 5 minutes. In the second round, he attempted a takedown for 3 minutes straight. Yes, I had money on Umar Sy. Yes, this is why I'm this upset about it. And Alonzo Menifield gets a win. He somehow got a win against Julius Walker barely after being chinned 4 times in a fight. Mirzakhanov murked him. Olberg murked him. Umar Sy, who has 8 finishes, and was such a better fighter technically, just stared at him. I don't. I'm yawning so much. I don't understand how Alonzo Menifield is able to win fights at the top level in the UFC. He's not good at anything. He just throws overhand rights. How is this possible? Like, how is he still winning fights? His last win was against, like, Jimmy. His last actual win was kind of against Jimmy Crute, and then there was a no contest in the fight before that. So, I don't care for. I think that might have been a draw, actually. But I don't care to see Alonzo Menifield fight again. He won. It was plus 500. Good for anyone if they picked it. Um, And Umar Sy sucks. Like I don't get it with these French fighters, man. Cyril Gane fights like a pussy. Umar Sy fights like a pussy. Manon Fior fights like a pussy, and she has one. Um, at least Benoit Saint-Denis tries. Morgan Sherrier kind of is cool, but again, like Fressiam, I get. It's just like it's a bad archetype to be an MMA fighter. It is what it is. Good one for Alonzo Menifield. Mansur Abdul Malik versus Cody Brundage. Somehow the fight that I expected, now is like there's no way, at least if every other fight is boring, this won't be boring. This was a boring fight. They stared at each other for the first 2 rounds. I thought it was 1-1. I thought Brundage won the first round, and Malik got the second. And then Malik drops Brundage out of the gate. Then Brundage just goes full retard and starts throwing overhand shots with both sides over and over again. It was pretty fun, and then gets not well. He didn't get, well, he got knocked down early, and then he gets put down. I feel like he gets KO'd. I'm like, whoa, that was kind of weird. He kind of quit. But then you see it was a head clash, and then they're like, okay, we'll score the first 10 seconds of the round to see who is winning, which is so unfair to Cody Brundage. It is what it is. He almost fluked the DQ. The kid loves he's kind of like Mateusz Gamrot, but with more tattoos. He loves the fluke fights. Um, Good win from Abdul Malik. Didn't look that good. I'm not even gonna say good win. It does ruin his 100% finishing rate though, and he was mad about that in the interviews backstage. But he's not that good. He's gonna get chinned once he goes against a higher level guy. Um, I wasn't that impressed with MAM, as we'll call him, but good win, I guess. Next up, this one hurt the soul. This one, I'm still not over this one, by the way, guys. Um, Raoni Barcelos wins a decision against Cody Garbrandt. Guys, I think we need to tell Cody Garbrandt that the clip farming is not beneficial if you can't keep up with the gas tank of someone. Like, he knocked down Barcelos, had him hurt bad, and then he just kind of looked at him and was like dancing in the middle of the cage. Brother, this isn't fucking 2016. Like, you're 33. You're not 25 and like a cool dude with a bunch of tats, and you've got a fucking face tattoo of a sword, and you've got cornrows, and you're like, man, I can't even call him washed. He's so tough because you can't call him washed. It's like when Tony knocked down Chandler, people were like, oh, he's not washed. Look what he did to Michael Chandler. But then the next fight's like he wasn't doing anything, right? With Garbrandt, Tony wouldn't have finished the equivalent of a Brian Kelleher if he fought him. Like, he kind of had that in Nate Diaz and didn't finish him. But like Cody beat Trevin Jones is what it is. finished Brian Kelleher. Okay, you're supposed to do that. That's good. Won the first round versus Figgy, then got choked out the second round. Kind of is what it is. Here, wins the first round versus Barcelos. Gets, I don't even know what happened the second round. He got clipped at the end and kind of a close round. But Cody kind of shut off in the second and third round. I don't know what happened. He got kind of wide eyed. I just think the time off got to him a little bit, and I just wonder if I just wonder if it's a confidence thing for him. It probably is, but like to be getting hit a couple times and be like, "Oh shit," like I'm still in this fight. And then at the very end to be like, "Oh, let's duke it out." Dog, you had him in the third round in the final minute. If he threw a couple more punches, he would have kind of scraped the decision by, and then he would have been able to regroup, but it's another loss for Cody Garbrandt. Give the guy a prospect, man. I hate to say it, but I think they're going to do him and Malcolm Wellmaker. If I had to really be a matchmaker and guess what they're going to do, I think they're going to do him versus Wellmaker, and it's going to be a real, real sad fight, and I'm going to cry. But it was a good win for Alney Barcelos. He didn't really mix up the grappling that well. He's just kind of a pressure fighter and an annoying one at that, but it was a good pressure fight win. He did a good job. I'm coping hard. I'm sorry, boys, but Alney Barcelos wins the decision. Featured fight. Another snooze fest. I thought Edmund Shabazian would win by first round KO. I mean, not really. He didn't really almost, but Edmund was really patient for some reason. He could have finished Petroski 2 or 3 times. I mean, he kicked him to the arm, broke his arm. I think it kind of hit his body, and Petroski went down in the third. He's kept staggering Petroski with jabs, but wouldn't follow up. It was really bizarre. I think he was just trying to show off that he can go 3 rounds, but I don't think Petroski's the guy to do that against. I would just try and finish him, but not much to say about this one. Not a lot happened. Petroski threw very little back. He attempted the grappling, wasn't really successful. It was good on Shabazi, and he had kind of a reversal at one point on a trip where he kind of threw Petroski to the side. Um, but yeah, I have nothing to say about some of these fights, man. It was kind of a nothing burger of a fight, but a good win for Edmund to keep the momentum rolling. Co-main event. This fight was actually pretty fun. The third round was wild. Rose, I had it 1-1, but I thought you could have sneaky had a 2-0 Rose. It really depended on how you scored the fights, or how you scored the rounds, but I felt like it was 1-1. And then, I'm of the opinion that Rose won that second round. So many people stupid fucking Paul Felder. I'm over a lot of these commentators, but Dominic Cruz is number one, by the way, and we'll get to Dominic Cruz. But in that second round, Rose dominating the whole time, had some chokes. She had a serious rear naked choke attempt. Had a body triangle for 3 minutes of the round, doing damage, and then for what was it, fucking 20 seconds at the end of the round, Miranda Maverick lands a couple of blows, and then it's like, oh, Miranda might have stole it back. 20 seconds of damage does not outdo 3 minutes and 30 seconds of damaging control. I don't know who needs to hear this. It's about the entire round, not just the end of the round. Similar to the Jose Aldo Iman Zahabi fight, which Jose Aldo won the third round in. So, kind of is what it is there. Either way, Rose then escaped an arm triangle in the third round and knocked Miranda down also. Good win for Rose Namajunas, man. It's one of those wins where you need to prove you still have it. I really think she should cut back down to strawweight. I think the path is there. Zhang Wei Li's getting older. I think she's going to vacate to go up. I wish that Rose would go back down to strawweight. I think she'd give these girls a lot of problems there. So it is what it is. Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley. Man, I really was confident in Joaquin Buckley. I was kind of gaslit though. I watched the Colby fight back. And when it's not about Colby didn't really take Buckley down, he only got the position because of a reversal. But when Colby got Buckley down, Buckley closed the guard. He didn't try and get back up. He didn't know what he was doing. And then with the Usman fight here, I kind of was convinced Buckley's got the power, Usman's too old. The reality is, man, Kamaru Usman, when he got him down, Buckley closed the guard, made zero attempt to get up for the entire round, and got his face bashed in for every single minute of every single round, except for the fifth when he magically learned how to defend takedowns again. It was a great win for Kamaru. I thought he looked good. The striking was a little slow, but I kind of attribute that to being out of the cage for almost 2 years. Um, Buckley landed some big shots in the fifth. I thought he was going to kind of come out with that same energy in the fourth when he realized he was down 3-0, but it is what it is in that regard. Dominic Cruz, by the way, the entire time, I'd like to say this. I'm over Dominic Cruz as a commentator. There are so many fights where people get knocked down, crazy moments, big slam takedown, and Dominic Cruz is sitting there. Oh, wow, he knocked him down. Wow, big shots coming in from Usman. He's just talking. Like he's not excited. He has no energy. Um, so I'm done with Dominic Cruz as a commentator. Either way, good win for Kamaru Usman. I don't think he's getting a title shot. I think he's getting. I would say do Bilal, but that risks putting Bilal back in title contention. So the UFC's not going to do that. They're going to do him versus Shavkat. I'd be willing to bet, and then you do Brady versus Gary in the interim, and you do Leon Michael Morales, you do JDM Islam. There's a lot going on at welterweight. I think it's one of the most stacked divisions right now. For Buckley, I do think this sets up a Kevin Holland rematch. I saw someone else say that, but I do think you could do a Kevin Holland rematch now, and I'd be pretty excited to see it. So maybe that's what they'll do. Anyways, boys, that'll do it for the recap. I appreciate you all for listening. It was a boring fight card. It had its moments, but Baku's a stacked card. Hopefully, we get some great fights and crazy finishes on that one. I'm excited for that main event. My predictions will be coming out soon. I'll do an early look video, but tomorrow I will release the best match or next matchups to make for each guy. So stay tuned for that. Appreciate you all. Subscribe and like down below. See you later, boys.